We will find him. One way or another, we will find him, no matter what it takes.
A night of tears, candles, and prayers.
You're the God of all comfort, Lord, that you would comfort the heart of Jessica and Dior and Trina, Lord.
All for a little 2-year-old boy who hasn't been seen in nearly 4 days.
He could be very, very close. He could be very far away. We don't know, but we are covering all bases at this point.
Tonight, hundreds gathered at Freeman Park with a prayer in their heart for DeorrKunz.
There's not much to be said other than one small mistake as a parent. You know, I'm leaving him with an adult that turns his head for a minute. They move, they go. Please cherish and love each other, because it could be changed in just a split second.
The family is passing out flyers just like this one all over Idaho. They want everybody to become familiar with little Dior's photo.
We want people to know his face, and when they leave their house, we want people to know to be on the lookout for our son.
Dior's family has faith he's still alive, and they're praying he comes home soon.
He's mommy's boy and daddy's little mini-me. I will find him if it's the last thing I do.
We're looking for you, son, and we will find you. And we love you more than anything in the world. You have a lot of people who love you and are looking for you. Buddy, we'll find you.
Heartfelt messages from the parents of DeorrKunz Jr.
If somebody has him, please don't hurt him. Just bring him home safely to us, where he belongs.
After 3 days of intense searches, Dior's parents now believe their little boy was abducted as the family camped in Lador, Idaho.
As his father, I believe, and I think after being up there, and a lot of people agree with me, a lot, that he is no longer up the mountain anymore.
No one has seen Dior since Friday afternoon. His parents say they thought his grandfather was watching him, and Grandpa thought his parents had him.
We decided we're going to go a little exploring. He was going to be good with Grandpa by the campfire. So when I come back up to get him, and I yelled over to Grandpa, where's little Dior? He immediately shocked. He says, he came up to you.
When that happened, the family says they began their own search, then quickly called 911.
And we didn't hear people around us. We didn't see anybody.
Because it's such a small area. That's what a lot of people, they don't understand, is they just assume, how could you let your kid out of your sight? This area is pretty well blocked in, and you can see, there's no way you couldn't not see him.
Crews in the air, on ATVs, on horseback, and on foot have been searching for Dior. One area of concern, a creek near the Kunz's campsite.
They assured me there is 100% chance that he is not anywhere in that water, around that water. They have torn that creek upside down and in and out. Divers have gone through wetsuits, along with the helicopter.
The family believes Dior is safe, and they have no idea who would want to take their son.
We have been racking our brains, and I don't know anybody that doesn't have a few people that either you like you or you hate you.
But
not to harm a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old.
Not to harm us this way, especially knowing how much he means to us. He's everything to us.
Dior's parents say they're overwhelmed with how many people have been praying and helping in the search for their son. They believe he's still alive and hope he'll be found soon.
This is his blanket. He doesn't go anywhere without his blanket, his cup, or his monkey. And all 3 of them were left at the campground.
Please keep sharing his photo. Please keep him in your mind, your hearts, and your prayers, and just keep your eyes open, please.
This is the place last seen, right here, this location.
More than 4 days and still no sign of DeorrKunz. Wednesday, advanced search and rescue crews with canine dogs scoured the reservoir and creek near the campsite where Dior disappeared. You've searched the creek several times. Any sign of him in the creek?
Sunday morning we started actually removing debris, and I had 6 guys, 2 in wetsuits, hip waders, on their hands and knees. Searched it yesterday, we're searching today.
The road to get up to the campground is really rocky. We're in an SUV and we're getting bounced all over the place. You can see that it is not paved. There's rocks everywhere, and you would really need to be in an all-terrain vehicle or an SUV to even get to where the family was camping. This is the campsite where Dior and his family were camping. It looks like your average campsite. You've got a fire pit, a picnic table, very close to the creek that we have heard so much about. In fact, the creek is just here a few yards away. Notice the terrain down to the water. It's very steep. It would be difficult for a young child to make their way down that hill. It is possible, but again, it is a steep hill. Now we're told that the parents and all of the family were here together when the parents decided to go off exploring. They went up this way, away from the campsite, while Dior stayed here with his grandfather. By the time the parents came back, about 10 or 15 minutes later, Dior was gone. There's been a lot of rumors on social media about the family, possible suspects, possible theories. What can you say?
Yeah, that's too bad. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. And, we interviewed the family. I'm good with them. They're good with me. All this innuendo out on social media really needs to stop. And let's, try to add to their peace a little bit. Try to give them some space and let's help them out.
That's exactly what the family is asking for. Dior's father tells me he's staying near the campsite until his son is found, and they're asking for continued prayers as they hold out hope. Searchers on horseback spent Friday in the hills near Timber Creek Campground, where Dior Kunz was last seen. The young boy's family camped nearby, hoping for any sign of the blonde 2-year-old. Searchers are tying these pink ribbons in areas where they've been. This is a sign that this particular spot has been searched. It was here at this peaceful campground where Dior disappeared 1 week ago. He was camping with his parents, great-grandfather, and a friend of the great-grandpa.
We decided we were going to go a little exploring. He was going to be good with Grandpa by the campfire. We weren't more than probably 50 yards away in 10 minutes, and I come back up in the creek, and I actually seen there was some things down by the little minnows, and I thought he would just love. So when I come back up to get him, and I yelled over to Grandpa, where's little Dior? He immediately shocked. He says, he came up to you.
Crews have really been focusing on the reservoir located above the campsite. There have been people in the water, people on the side of the water. There's been a boat in that reservoir. Now this is a large area up here, and this water feeds into the creek that ran right through the family's campsite. You can see the creek. For the most part, it's fairly shallow. It is wide. Some places may be a little deeper. That's why searchers say they've combed every part of it, focusing on the area from the campsite to the reservoir. It's about a quarter of a mile, but takes several minutes for an adult on foot as the trail is steep and rocky. That's how most of the terrain is in these parts, and that's why investigators say they'll continue to look through the weekend for any sign of little Dior. They stress volunteers are not needed to help, as professionals and trained personnel will be out hoping for something. Since Dior Kunz disappeared, many have had questions about the friend who was with the family that day at the campsite. His name is Isaac Renwand, and today we're hearing from him for the first time. Isaac?
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
This is Isaac Renwand, the family friend who was at the campsite the day Dior Kunz disappeared. So he was just with you and the grandfather when he wandered away?
Mm-hmm.
We've heard Dior's parents explain what happened on July 10th at Timber Creek Campground.
We decided we were going to go a little exploring. He was going to be good with Grandpa. When I come back up to get him, and I yelled over to Grandpa, where's little Dior? He immediately shocked. He says, he came up to you.
Investigators tell us Jessica's grandfather has poor mental and physical health, but we haven't heard much about Renwald. Police say he's not a suspect and has been cooperating, but we want to know just what he saw that day, what he heard, and find out if he knows what happened to Dior. So we went to his Idaho Falls house over and over and over again. Finally, early Monday morning, he answered the door. I'm Nate Eaton with East Idaho News.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm sorry.
You don't have anything you want to say? All right, we just want to see if you have anything to say about Dior missing.
I don't.
You don't?
I have no comment.
Can you tell us what happened up there?
As far as I know, he disappeared is all. So.
He just disappeared. Did he wander away? You know? Or?
I'm not, I don't know what to say about it.
A lot of people have heard from the family and everything. I know a lot of people want to hear from you and the grandfather.
Have you ever talked to the grandfather yet?
I haven't. So he was just with you and the grandfather when he wandered away?
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys thought he was with the parents?
Yeah.
And the parents came back and he was gone? Okay.
Did you get her Facebook message?
I didn't get your can't message, but like I said, I don't want to answer any more questions or anything.
Okay. Again, Renwand is not a suspect, and police tell us he has been cooperating with them. As of today, investigators tell us there are no new leads on where DeorrKunz could be. Friday, July 10th, DeorrKunz Jr., his father, mother, great-grandfather, and a family friend travel 120 miles from Idaho Falls to Timber Creek Campground in Leadore. We're about a mile away from where the family was camping. You can see there's not much out here. Acres and acres of sagebrush and trees, and it was up near that canyon where that campsite was.
What's the address of your emergency? I'm actually camping.
At 2:28, Dior's mother, Jessica Mitchell, calls 911.
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him.
Search crews arrive and begin to look for the toddler. Saturday, July 11th, searchers on horseback, ATVs, on foot, and in water continue to look for Dior. The focus is a 2.5-mile radius around the campground. This is the campsite where Dior and his family were camping. It looks like your average campsite. The creek is just here a few yards away. Notice the terrain down to the water. It's very steep. Now we're told that the parents and all of the family were here together when the parents decided to go off exploring. They went up this way, away from the campsite, while Dior stayed here with his grandfather. By the time the parents came back, about 10 or 15 minutes later, Dior was gone. Sunday, July 12th, the Lemhi County Sheriff's Office reports nearly 200 volunteers show up to look for Dior. His grandmother tells EastIdahoNews.com it appears the 2-year-old just vanished. Volunteer search efforts are suspended, but deputies say trained professionals will continue to look for the boy. Monday, July 13th. In their only interview, Dior's parents explain what happened.
We decided we were going to go a little exploring. He was going to be good with Grandpa by the campfire. So when I come back up to get him, and I yelled over to Grandpa, where's little Dior? He immediately shocked. He says, he came up to you.
They say they no longer believe he's lost, but think someone may have abducted their son.
There's a possibility that he may be with somebody, and that's what's giving us hope that it's a bad thing that he will be not with us right now, but it also means that there is a good chance that he is alive and with somebody.
And they make a plea for his safe return.
We're looking for you, son, and we will find you, and we love you more than anything in the world. You have a lot of people who love you and are looking for you. Buddy will find you. Daddy will find you.
Looking until we get you a home.
That night in Idaho Falls, around 200 people gather for a candlelight vigil.
We want people to know to be on the lookout for our son.
Tuesday and Wednesday, July 14th and 15th, search efforts continue near the campground. Dive crews focus on the stone reservoir located about a quarter of a mile from where the family was camping. There have been people in the water, people on the side of the water. There's been a boat in that reservoir. Now this is a large area up here, and this water feeds into the creek that ran right through the family's campsite. Dior's parents remain camped near the site as deputies search the creek once again.
We started actually removing debris, and I had 6 guys, 2 in wetsuits, hip waders, on their hands and knees in the creek.
Thursday, July 16th, a representative from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children arrives in Leadore. National media are now covering the story.
We begin tonight in the bizarre case of a 2-year-old boy who mysteriously vanishes at an Idaho campground.
Friday, July 17th, the Bonneville County Sheriff's dive team is called in to help search the reservoir. Divers use a sonar robot to assist in foggy waters. Crews on horseback return to the hills near the campground. Searchers are tying these pink ribbons in areas where they've been. This is a sign that this particular spot has been searched. Saturday, July 18th, it's Dior's father's birthday. He spends the day camped yards away from where his son disappeared. Search efforts continue. Sunday, July 19th. It's been 10 days since Dior was last seen. The Timber Creek campground has been searched dozens of times. Crews have scoured the stone reservoir and creek. Investigators release few new details. Dior's family remains desperate for answers, and not one hint piece of evidence or clue has been found as to where this little boy is. It's been 2 weeks since DeorrKunz disappeared. There's been no sign of him at the campground. Investigators don't expect foul play. His family and police are releasing very few new details. So what happens now?
This will come to a resolution. I'm quite satisfied.
Tony Latham is a retired investigator with Idaho Fish and Game. He's worked on missing persons cases and says when someone like Deorr disappears, detectives can't rule out anything.
Everything has to be on the table. And, you do your initial assessment and get your resources up there and focus on what's the most obvious. But at the same time, everything else has to be operating in the background.
Some theories investigators might look at: Deorr walked away on his own, he was abducted, he was never at the campsite, or a wild animal could have been involved.
If it had been a wild animal attack, by now they would have at least found a boot. And so I think by now that theory should be discounted.
Detectives say Deorr's parents have been cooperative. Deorr's great-grandfather, who was at the campsite, has never been a suspect. As for the family friend who was also there, investigators aren't saying anything about him, and few new details are being released. But that doesn't mean police have stopped working to find Deorr.
There's some cameras on the highway on both directions in 93, I'm sure have been looked at, and I'm sure they're looking more or less under every rock, so to speak, for leads on this case.
Search crews were hoping for a lead at the Stone Reservoir after canine dogs picked up a scent near the water. After days of intense searches, investigators learned someone dumped human cremains into the reservoir days after Deorr disappeared. Those remains were the scent the dogs likely picked up. But should Deorr's body be in the reservoir, Latham says he will surface soon.
In 3 weeks, based on temperatures, would probably be a ballpark figure on when the body would float up.
Investigators and Deorr's family remained hopeful he's still alive, and Latham has faith the Lemhi County Sheriff's Office will solve this case.
They know those hills and they know how to find people. If there's something to be found in that area, they'll come up with it.
Latham says it's important to, quote, keep that kid's face in your mind, and remember, he could be anywhere. It's been 3 weeks since DeorrKunz Jr. disappeared, and his parents say they believe he's still alive. In a written statement to EastIdahoNews.com Friday, Jessica Mitchell and DeorrKunz Sr. said, "We continue to hope and pray that our little man will be found soon." Their comments come the same day Lemhi County Sheriff Lynn Bowerman told KBOI 2 News that the FBI is assisting his detectives with the investigation. Deorr's parents confirmed they have been in contact with the FBI, and according to Kunz, investigators have searched their house and vehicles. Deorr was last seen on July 10th while camping with his parents, Mitchell's grandfather, and Isaac Renwand, a family friend, at Timber Creek Campground in Leadore. Deorr's parents say they went to explore and left the toddler with their grandfather. The grandfather assumed little Deorr was with his parents. Earlier this week, Bowerman told EastIdahoNews.com that Deorr's parents, great-grandfather, and Renwand are considered persons of interest because they were all at the campsite, but at this point, none of them are considered suspects. The Lemhi County Sheriff tells me he's confident DeorrKunz will be found, even though it's been 5 weeks since the little boy disappeared. Today, in an exclusive interview, the sheriff sat down with me and told me what happens from here with the case.
Absolutely nothing has been ruled out.
Sheriff Lynn Bowerman has no idea what happened to DeorrKunz, but he's 99% sure the 2-year-old was at the Timber Creek Campground on July 10th. Do you believe it was an abduction?
You know, personally, I think an abduction is one of the least likely events. Primarily, the information we have is Grandpa's watching the child. He tells me he looks away momentarily. When he looks back, he's gone, and he's assumed he's gone over the bank. Right where Grandpa's sitting, he's within 20 to 30 yards of the only roadway into the campground. And absolutely no one was seen at that lower campground coming or going. And when my personnel went in, nobody was seen leaving.
Bowerman is opening up about the case that has so many unanswered questions. He says late on Thursday, July 9th, not Friday, Dior, his parents, great-grandfather, and a friend of Grandpa named Isaac Renwand arrive at Timber Creek. The next morning, Bowerman tells me Dior goes with his parents to a store in Leadore, about 20 minutes from the campsite.
Was there any surveillance captured of this boy, surveillance video?
I don't believe they have a surveillance, but we have a receipt that we've documented that they purchased certain items. They were on the receipt. The time was stamped on the receipt. And so we believe, that's where they went.
Did they stop any other places on their way up to Leadore?
Yeah, they stopped to get some diesel fuel.
Diesel fuel.
Yeah.
Any surveillance video at that gas
No.
station?
After the Friday shopping trip, the family returns to camp. Dior's parents say they're going exploring and leave the child with great-grandpa.
Where was Mr. Renwand during all of this?
He was in the same general proximity. The creek is just over the bank. He's downstream, they're upstream. They're all within probably 100 to 150 feet of each other.
The parents return, can't find Dior, and call 911. Weeks of extensive searches focusing on a 3-mile radius around the campsite result in nothing. Meanwhile, Dior's parents, Dior Kuntz Sr. and Jessica Mitchell, along with the grandfather, are questioned by Lemhi detectives.
Those three have been very cooperative. They've given us everything we've asked for, and so I feel real good about the parents and the grandfather also.
Another person questioned, Isaac Renwand.
Obviously, there's a relationship between him and Grandpa. They're friends. But prior to that trip, he had never met Mom or Dad. I'm not getting any feeling that he's not being truthful. I think he's been very truthful, and I appreciate his help. He's come up to the area on a second occasion with me, and until we find a piece of evidence or locate anything that tells me otherwise, I think he's being very truthful.
Bowerman says everyone at the campsite has had their cars and homes searched multiple times. Now, Bonneville County deputies and the FBI are working with Bowerman's team to try and solve this case.
All four have voluntarily taken polygraphs, and right now those have been turned over to the FBI. We've given them lots of items to analyze behaviorally, and we've given them some physical evidence. I can't go into those details, but we're basically trying to cover all of our bases.
Where do you guys go from here?
Well, we wait until we get our report from the FBI. That's going to be critical, and we're still asking the public to help us if they have any information.
The sheriff says it will be 6 to 8 weeks until they receive information back from the FBI. Meanwhile, they will continue to search for Dior until he's found.
I feel that he was abducted. Everything points to an abduction.
Frank Vilt is a private investigator working with Dior Kuntz and Jessica Mitchell to help find their 2-year-old son, Dior.
I spent 10 years with LA County Sheriff's Department and 19 and a half years with the United States Marshal Service.
Vilt has been conducting his own investigation into Dior's disappearance and believes the boy was kidnapped.
We have to focus on that now because everything lends to the theory that there could have been an abduction.
Have the parents been completely cooperative with investigators?
Absolutely. I've talked to Lemhi County deputies, I've talked to Bonneville County here in this jurisdiction, and they've been very cooperative, very forthright. Nothing to hide.
Why wasn't an Amber Alert issued?
Didn't fit the entire criteria for an Amber Alert. There was no vehicle they could give. There's no mother or father or suspect that they can name as being with. So this is why it didn't fit the criteria.
Vilt says he shares his tips with Lemhi and Bonneville County investigators. In fact, he just learned something that may be useful.
We're trying to follow a lead at the stage stop. When they went into town, the morning after they arrived, to make a few groceries up, they bought some French fries for Dior Jr., and there was a man who was staring at this little boy. And this made Jessica feel kind of eerie that this old man was staring at the boy. I've interviewed people who were on the sex register list to clear them.
Were they cleared?
They were clear, yes. And I checked everything that could possibly be.
Wilt has set up a national hotline hoping that tips pour in. He believes Kuntz and Mitchell had nothing to do with their son's disappearance, and he's working to bring their boy home. Why have the parents been so quiet?
Of course, a few people out there in the social media have accused them of doing things, and my advice to Dior and to Jessica was to cooperate, keep the hope. And I told him, I think your boy is probably still alive. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that these are grieving parents. And I want to hope that they feel like I feel, that somebody out there knows something.
It's been 2 months and no trace of missing Idaho Falls toddler Dior Kuntz. There's still as many questions today as there was 8 weeks ago. And Dior's family says they want answers and they want their boy back.
You hope for him to come home. You hope to find him. But you also hope to have closure one way or another. You go crazy. And you don't know what to do next.
Clutching his fiance's hand, Dior Kuntz Sr. describes the heartache he says his family has been through since their 2-year-old son disappeared.
I hope that he's okay, and in my mind, that's what keeps me going.
The family believes little Dior was abducted from the Timber Creek campground on July 10th. They say since he disappeared, they've spent thousands of hours in Leadore searching for any clue that could lead to the young boy.
If we feel he was abducted, why do we continue to search up there? And why not? It was the last place we seen that baby. It's the last place we know that baby was, and so how can you not?
The Lemhi County Sheriff's Office is also continuing search efforts. Thursday, on the 2-month anniversary of Dior's disappearance, Sheriff Lynn Bowerman says his chief deputy and several canines were in the area. Flyers are being posted asking hunters to keep an eye open for any sign of Dior.
We just would do anything for someone to just walk up and hand us that little boy. He is so greatly missed. We don't go a day without having nightmares of just praying for answers and just hoping that someone will just come forward and just tell us the truth of what's happened.
Dior's family says the past 8 weeks have been heartbreaking, and they've tried to stay out of the spotlight, so the focus remains on finding their boy.
We have become silent, and because we don't want them focused on us. We want them focused on this baby.
Right now, the FBI is reviewing the case, and a report is expected within weeks. Detectives say Dior's parents, Dior Sr. and Jessica Mitchell, have been cooperative. So have Robert Walton, Dior Jr.'s great-grandfather, and Isaac Renwand, a family friend who was on the camping trip. And even though it's been 2 months since they've seen their little boy, the family believes he's still alive and they will see him again.
We just hope and have faith that he'll be returned to us safe. You know, that's all we're praying for.
I need Jess to have, my daughter to have her son back. I need Dior to have his son back so he can raise his son. And us as a family, we need that little boy.
Keep your eyes open. For those of you with your kind words, and it does help. And there's been good people. And I want to thank those people.
Again, that report from the FBI is expected within the next few weeks. Stay with EastIdahoNews.com for the very latest on this continuing story. Reporting in Idaho Falls, I'm Nate Eaton, EastIdahoNews.com.